Good early morning, everybody. Agent of Doubt here, suffering from insomnia. Figured I'd make a video on the latest of what I have been able to ascertain by tracking the progression of the BlueAnon movement on TikTok, which now it's early morning on the 11th of January, and on the 20th of January 2025, Trump should be inaugurated, and on the 19th, TikTok could be going away. So the end of my project could just be straight up the end of the community on TikTok that keeps on spreading the similar rhetoric that I'm following, that kind of parallels the belief systems and thought processes of the QAnon movement from 4 years earlier. And not to say that one side is as bad as the other, but just these similar thought processes that keep hope alive, the hopium and copium cycle, I suppose, where election denial is part of this belief system, where they want to fight to the very last day. And I'm quoting here a lot of what I'm seeing. Now, some of the latest trends that I've seen in the group that I'm calling BlueAnon. One, they say they're not denying the election, because they're actually challenging Trump's eligibility to be a candidate, as an insurrectionist, because the 14th Amendment, Section 3, and all that. And so they're not election deniers. They'll go ahead and admit that he got more votes, right? But they say that he should never have been allowed on the ballot, because he should have been excluded. And more on that towards the end of this video. But other things that I've seen as far as trends. Another one, it reminds me of, any sort of psychic predictions and whatnot, where as the dates arrive and pass, the person who's made these predictions or inferred that these were, solid things that were going to happen, will start to say to their audience, I never said solidly that this was the date that it was going to happen. If you got that, that's on you. And I'm like, if a majority of your audience is saying, hey, the date's coming past, and what you said didn't come to fruition, and you're having to tell all of these people that, hey, I never said that. Hey, I never said that. This is a thing that also happened in the QAnon thing 4 years ago, where, like, I gave you the hints. I gave you the batter. You guys baked the bread. I gave you, the foundation. You guys came to that conclusion on your own. So I never said. And so that it's one of the hallmarks of this denialism, and these people who seek to amass a following to listen to them about their denialism, and get internet fame and amass a following of viewers, is that they'll disavow the important dates as they come and pass, and they'll say, well, we already knew that it wasn't going to do this. We had hopes, but we already knew. And so if you're here saying that, it came and passed and I was wrong, I never told you that that was going to happen. And so, it's just something we can look at. Like a lot of these things that I'm looking at, they're for the purpose of maybe inoculating people against falling into these belief systems in the future. Because I myself have lost friends to the QAnon movement in particular, and then I can't really get with the BlueAnon movement's logic on a lot of things, and I see the parallels so much that I can't even engage with anyone who gets caught up in that. And luckily, it is a lot smaller, this BlueAnon group, but QAnon was small until it wasn't, So, largely, I would say a lot of the BlueAnon holding out till the very end election deniers, they don't understand the 14th Amendment, Section 3 argument at all. And the parallel I'll draw here is from a completely different thing that I used to follow when I took this camera and took it down to the Occupy movement protests, and I used to talk to people. I said, that thing that they're doing with the derivatives, and undermining the market, and setting up the entire financial system for this collapse. That was horrible, right? And most people who showed up to the in-person Occupy movements, they had no idea what a derivative was. They had no idea really what the original Occupy Wall Street group were protesting, And I don't know about in New York what percentage of people on the ground at Zuccotti Park actually knew what a derivative was financially, but here in Denver and in Colorado Springs and in Pueblo, I would say 95% of the people who showed up to protest could not explain what a derivative was, and so therefore did not understand the Occupy Wall Street movement. They were just showing up to protest whatever they felt like it was about. And a lot of them came with their own ideas of what the Occupy movement was about, and then the Occupy movement started adding things to their platform to where it was about anything people wanted it to be about. And I saw it get watered down and co-opted by all sorts of other things, and then it petered out and died, right? But the thing that I'm pointing to is the majority of those protesters did not understand what a derivative was. And in this case with BlueAnon, the majority of them don't really understand the basis for the 14th Amendment argument that since Trump is an insurrectionist, he should be barred from office. And for me, that's actually the most interesting argument that they have to offer, and rather than just expound on that forever, I will say I'll leave a link in the description box to a scholarly paper from some professors of law who make the argument that not only Donald Trump, but a lot of sitting members of Congress, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others who aided in the insurrection, that they should also be barred from office, including the offices that they are currently holding, and that anyone who does not see that and at their respective times of whether or not they should certify or seat a person, if they don't recognize that the 14th Amendment disqualifies that person from holding that office, and they seat the person, then they themselves have violated their own oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And anyone who holds public office has to take that oath, and anyone who joins the military has to take that oath. And strangely, like, if you follow this logic all the way out to like reductio ad absurdum, you could say, like, anyone who voted for Trump therefore violated their oath to uphold and defend the Constitution because they voted for an insurrectionist. And when things are so sweeping, then you don't really want to believe that logically that even makes sense. But if you're doing the highest level internet autist logic, by the letter of the law, anybody who voted for Trump would be as bad as voting for Robert E. Lee from the Confederate forces to be president of the United States later. He was part of the Confederacy. He, helped lead forces against the Union, and so should be barred from office, right? Well, unfortunately, in America, we have a history of ignoring our own law with regards to insurrection and rebellion and whatnot. And there are even cases where it was decided right after the Civil War, like, hey, if everybody who participated in that was barred from office, then it's going to be impossible to do the reconstruction of the South, because most of them were involved in it, and all the good leaders and the people that people respect were involved in it. So we can't be just applying the law to everybody. And so we have precedent for ignoring our own Constitution, which is horrible for the people in BlueAnon, because it doesn't really matter if it's written into law, even constitutional law, if no one is going to respect the law. I would say that there's other less less serious forms of this. In most places, infidelity in a marriage is against the law, but you never see anyone arrested for cheating on their spouse, right? Because we as a society just don't care to pursue that. But technically, a lot of people who are married who are unfaithful, they could be arrested under laws that have not been amended or challenged or brought up to date with the way that society believes the law actually is written when it's not written that way. So, it's really interesting. The few people in the BlueAnon movement who actually, I feel, know what they're talking about, and they research scholarly articles like the one I'm linking in the description box, and they, you know, they have points that have not been argued in the public by the elected officials that probably should have been very public about all of this and these discussions, but we don't have anyone making these discussions outside of academia and, you know, well thought out, well researched papers. We kind of need like a Neil deGrasse Tyson for constitutional law that breaks it down for the lay public and makes things digestible, because even the comments that I get just trying to follow BlueAnon, I get people who don't believe that things are the way they are, and I will respond to it and say, actually, you know, and just the idea that we exist with people who violate the Constitution and pretend like the Constitution is still like the pinnacle of law, but like they so blatantly are hypocritical about it. You know, it's like, oh. And then if they were to not be hypocritical about it, then we'd have even more problems. Like, I don't know that I am arguing in this video at all that people should abruptly apply the Constitution, like, right away, you know, in these manners that they would be indicated, because like I've said in previous videos, it would start a civil war, and civil war these days wouldn't be you know, divided to where you knew which side of a border you were on. Modern civil warfare would look terrible. And we've already seen with the January 6th insurrection of 2021 that certain groups can get pretty fucking violent, you know? And I guess what I'm advocating for would be a lot more education for the public before we go about actually defending and upholding parts of the Constitution that would be very unpopular if they were to be upheld and executed the way that they're written. And I think I'll leave you with that. The paper that I'm leaving in the description box, it's 100 pages, and I don't expect most of you to read it, but it is probably the most interesting thing that I've found in tracking the BlueAnon movement, even though it's a minority of them that actually could bring themselves to read this paper and understand what they're what the more learned of them are actually talking about and leading them to conclusions with. It's the least wooey, the least psychic-y, you know, like the least magic predictions part of what I've been looking at. And I give that to you guys. And, you know, this being the 11th, I only have 8 more days of tracking this on TikTok available before the project will abruptly come to an end, it seems. So, maybe by ruining the platform that they spread their information with, it will dissipate and quell the movement, or maybe they'll migrate to some other platform. We'll see.